Welcome to Cruise Ports on a Budget, where I'll show you some of the things you can do in various cruise ports without spending a fortune. This is Istanbul in Turkey, unfortunately on a rather grey day. We're now at the new cruise port of Galata Port. We're going to find our way out of there. The idea today is to use the trams quite a lot and walk round the old city.
The first thing you have to do at Galata Port is get out of the terminal, which is a rather strange airport style building. You have to go down a series of escalators, across an empty hall, and then up another 3 escalators in order to get back on the level you were. You do finally make it out onto the street. Just up the road are the well-known rainbow stairs, although they're difficult to get to as you need to walk about half a mile to cross the road. We're walking up to Kabatas in order to get the funicular which leads up to Taksim Square. Finding the funicular was a bit difficult as we didn't expect it to be underground with the metro. This is probably the first funicular railway we've ever been on which runs underground. A journey of less than 5 minutes brings you right out into Taksim Square. Right, this way. One thing to know about Istanbul is that you'll never go hungry. It's not cold, is it? No. The shelter there is where we need to catch the tram, but we waited a while they hosed the streets down. As they did so, the tram arrived. This is a beautiful old heritage tram which runs from Taksim down to Tunnel. The tram loops around at Taksim Square and then returns the way it came. The journey takes about 15 minutes, but while it's exciting being on the tram for that long, watching a video for 15 minutes is not quite so good, so I've sped this section up. After an exciting ride, there's time to have a proper look at the tram before it heads back up to Taksim Square. About 100 metres from the tram terminus is the second oldest underground railway in the world, travelling from Tunnel to Karakoy. This train uses a pulley system and runs on rubber wheels. The journey is only one stop and takes about 3 or 4 minutes before coming out at Karakoy, very close to Galata Bridge. This bridge spans the Golden Horn estuary and links the modern part of Istanbul, where we've just been, to the older part of the city. A couple of 100 metres from the bridge is the Spice Bazaar. It's a very interesting market, although aimed at tourists and quite expensive. Nice to smell the spices in here. Outside the market there are still plenty of stalls selling spices, and if you want some, this is the place to buy them. We're heading down this street to try and find the Rustam Pasha Mosque. This is a little known mosque well off the tourist trail and was delightful to walk round as it was virtually empty. After the peace and quiet of the mosque, we're back out into the bustling streets, heading for the Suleimani Mosque. It's quite a tough uphill walk to this mosque from the spice market at sea level, but once you get there, the views over the city are remarkable. This is another mosque well worth seeking out, as it receives far less visitors than the Blue Mosque and Hagia Sophia, which we'll be heading to later. Once again, it's out onto the bustling streets as we head towards the Grand Bazaar. The Grand Bazaar was a bit of a surprise, as I was expecting an old Arab-style market. It is, however, very modern and sells almost everything under the sun. To be honest, we found it a bit tacky and touristy, and of course very expensive, but it is a unique experience. We were happy to leave the bustle of the Grand Bazaar and get out once more onto the open streets. This is one of the few ancient monuments left in Istanbul, the Column of Constantine. We emerged from the Grand Bazaar just in time for midday prayers. We're heading now down towards the famous Blue Mosque, past this beautiful water fountain. Arriving at the Blue Mosque, we were dismayed to see the length of the queue. If you want to visit the Blue Mosque and the nearby Hagia Sophia, I'd suggest that you make these the first stops on your itinerary. The Blue Mosque is stunning inside, but somehow I was expecting a lot more blue tiles. It's nowhere near as blue as the Rustam Pasha Mosque that we visited earlier. We're heading now to Hagia Sophia, which is another mosque only about 500 meters away from the Blue Mosque. The line at Hagia Sophia was even longer than that of the Blue Mosque. The mosque was closed for about half an hour as there were far too many people inside. Once again, best bet is to get here very early in the morning. It took about an hour to get inside, but it was well worth the wait, as this mosque is totally different from the other mosques we've visited today. From Hagia Sophia, we took a modern tram all the way back up to Kabatas, where we began our journey, as we wanted to take the ferry across the Bosphorus to the Asian side of the city. If you ever get to Istanbul, do take this ferry journey, which costs only the equivalent of about 45 pence each. The Asian side of the city sees far fewer tourists, but it was absolutely packed with locals. We didn't have a lot of time to explore this side, so after a brief walk round, it was time to catch the ferry back across the Bosphorus. Back on the European side, we took a stroll down Umbrella Street, which is a street full of restaurants, quite close to Galata Port. And then it was a pleasant evening stroll across this square just outside the terminal building. All that remained was to go down those escalators and up the escalators to get back to the ship. There are many other things that we could have done in Istanbul, but I think we covered more than we would have done on a shore excursion. The shore excursion Best of Istanbul would have cost us £178, but we managed to see most of Istanbul by spending less than £7 on trams and the ferry. Public transport in Istanbul is incredibly cheap at around 45 pence per journey. Check out my other videos for more hints and tips about how you might save money when visiting various cruise ports.